How we doing, everybody? This is Hans Killinger for the Hans Killinger Network. Tonight we got a special program. I am going to be teaching you how to make a Koin Bot for Mortal Kombat XL. Now, what we're going to be needing for this project to work is a few requirements. We're going to be needing auto hotkey, which you can get here at this web address. We're also going to be needing VJoy, which is a virtual joystick, and we're going to be needing the AH key or auto hotkey to VJoy library, which was created by Evil C. You can get that here at GitHub. Now, what you're going to want to do is start off by installing the auto hotkey and installing the virtual joystick. And then you go into, when you get to the GitHub website, you're going to want to, over on the right-hand side, you're going to be seeing a green button. Click the little drop-down arrow and click the download zip option. You can put that in your downloads folder or on your desktop or wherever you choose. Just, remember where you save it to. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is open up the VJoy configuration. This is going to open up this tab right here. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you've got the number of buttons set to 10 for the player 1. You go ahead and hit apply. Now, a window might come up and complain and ask you to restart the computer. Just deny that. We don't have to. It's a joystick, and it'll work just fine if you don't. Now, you're going to want to come up here to right next to the second tab and hit joystick 2. And you're going to want to come down here and you're going to want to add the device. Again, it's going to pop up and want you to restart. Just do it later. You don't have to restart for it. Set your number of buttons. Change that from, I think it's probably set to 32 when it starts out. Let's set that to 10 as well. And we're going to hit apply. Make sure that VJoy is enabled. And we can close that out. We don't need it anymore. Now, next thing you want to do is going to open up your Explorer. Now we're going to want to create a new folder. I've already got one created here. Calling it MKX Koin Hack. You can name it whatever you like, though. It doesn't matter. And now you're going to want to open up that AHK to VJoy library. You're going to want to extract the VJoy _lib.ahk file into this folder. So you're going to want to make sure that you've got that file named exactly like this, capital V, capital J, OY _lib.ahk. That goes in this folder. Now, after that, you're going to want to right click, go to New, go to Auto Hotkey Script. I'm not going to do it because I've already got one. But you're going to name it. You name it whatever you'd like. Again, I named mine MKX Koin Hack.ahk. And now you're going to want to right click that. You don't want to double click it because that's going to run it. You don't want to run it. You want to right click it and go to Edit Script. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up our notepad. Now, with our notepad open, we're going to start doing our code. It's actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The first line of code we're going to want to add is going to be this right here. This is a # single instance, force. What this basically is going to do is it's going to make it so we can only have one copy of this running at a time. We don't want to have multiple copies with multiple joysticks being created. That'll move everything up for us. Next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to include our VJoy library. So now we can access all the functions within that. the next things we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a couple of variables, and these variables are going to be for our controllers. So, we're going to set the VJoy ID of the sticks to control. Got VJoy 1 ID and VJoy 2, and we're going to set them with the numbers 1 and 2 respectively. Remember, we can add comments by putting a semicolon in. Anything we type after a semicolon won't get registered. Now that we've got our variables set for our joysticks, let's initiate our joysticks by typing VJoy underscore init, and inside of some brackets or some parentheses, we're going to put the VJoy 1 ID and VJoy 2 ID. That's basically like hitting the green X in the middle of your Xbox controller. It turns the controllers on. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start doing our keys to the joystick button assignments. Which is right here. This is basically, these are going to be all the different keys on our keyboard that we can press to activate different buttons on the virtual joypad that we've created. So I'm going to paste these in one by one, and if you need to type them in, go ahead and pause the stream, and then you can type in what you need. So basically, we're going to go here for player 1, button A. I'm just going to assign it to button number 1. Again, this could be anything you want. And underneath that, when you press button number 1, what we're going to do is do a VJoy underscore set BTN or set button. Now, it's going to have it needs three different assignments to it for it to work. So the first one is going to be either a 1 or a 0. 1 means we're holding the button down. 2 means we're releasing, or 0 means we're releasing the button. So we want to first push the button down, and then we're going to tell it the second item, which is the actual joystick we want it to do it to, which is VJoy 1 for player 1. And we want to send it button 2, which is the A button on the Xbox 360 controller. And we're going to have it sleep for 50 milliseconds. So basically just enough time for you to tap the button. And then we're going to send that VJoy set button again, except this time we're going to put a 0 instead to release the button. And then we finish it off with return. And that finalizes that button. So now button 1 is going to be mapped to player 1 controller, button A. So let's move on to the second one here. The second one is going to be player 1 press down. So this is basically just tapping down on the controller. And I'm going to set this to number 2, button number 2. Now, this is going to be slightly different than above because we're using an axis on this one. It's not a button, it's like a potentiometer on the controller. So, what we want to do is we first want to tell it to set the axis 32,000, which is pretty much all the way in the down position. Joystick 1. And then this one is going to be HID underscore usage underscore Y, all capital letters. And this is basically telling it that we're using the left joypad or the left joystick to press down. I mean, because this can be, there's different, you've got X, you've got Y, I think there's Z and C. There's a few different ones that can be on a controller that can be adjusted, but what we're looking for is the Y axis. Again, we're just going to tell it to sleep for 50 milliseconds, and we're going to pass it that same argument again, but change the first number to 16383, which is exactly in the center of the joystick. So that's if you were to release the joystick and it bounces back to the center position. And we go into return. So now that I've explained those off, we've got a few more buttons that we're going to need to configure. I'm not going to explain them too much in the detail because they're basically copies of what we've already done. So I'm just going to paste them in here and wait a couple of seconds so you've got some time to pause and copy what we're doing. And then we'll continue on. So our next button is going to be button number 3, which I've set to player 2 button A, because we're going to need player 2 to also be doing stuff in this. It's going to be using 2 controllers for 2 players. So same thing as if like we did key number 1, key number 3 instead is going to be pushing button 2 on joystick 2. And it's going to be releasing it after a 50 millisecond pause. And then we're going to move into our next button. In here, this is going to be button number 4, which is going to be player 2 pressing down. Again, just like using key number 2, except key 4. And the only thing we're going to be changing is the keyjoy 1 ID to keyjoy 2. I mean, really, you could go up and copy and paste and just make a couple of little changes. It's probably a lot faster for you. And do our next button here. Second. Next button is going to be player 2, and this is going to be hold left. So instead of tapping left, this is actually going to walk the player in our script. It's going to walk him towards, going to walk player 2 towards player 1. You'll see once the script is activated why we're doing this. But this is basically going to get set to key number 5. Now on this one, if you'll notice, I've changed the first number to 0. 0 is going to be all the way to the far left. We're using joystick 2, and we've changed it from HID usage Y. This is using HID usage X. So we've changed the axis now. We want to go along the X-axis. And again, this time we're going to be sleeping for 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. It's just going to hold it down for 1 second and then let the button go. Again here, and we're going to be letting it go on the X-axis, and then we're going to be ending that one. We've only got a couple more keys that we need to configure here. In fact, we're down to our last key, and then we're going to start getting into the guts of what's going on. So our next key is going to be button 9. This could be, or key 9. This could be whatever key you want either, as well. I kind of put it off to the right in different locations so I knew where it was. And this is going to be player 1, button B, which is going to be kind of your cancel button, just in case you need to get out of a sticky situation. You can tap that 9 button to kind of get yourself out. It's kind of good to have. There'll be instances where you might need it. And this is basically the same thing as before, except instead of button 2, we're going to be changing this to button 3, which it corresponds to like B on a Xbox 360 controller. Now, here comes the fun part. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is what we're going to call an initialization procedure. And what this is basically going to do for us is going to set up the 2 controllers in the game, or the 2 virtual controllers in the game. Select some players, and select the stage. Select the danger modifier that we're going to need, and pretty much get us ready to go. Now I'll show you here in a second. It's going to be we've got a lot of code that we're going to need to work with. So maybe I'll do it in sections here, but I'll show you what I'm talking about when I mean the when I mean a configuration, I'm going to show you a video here. But basically what you're going to want to do is go into your game options, and you're going to change it to 1 round. Instead of 2 rounds per combat, you're going to want 1 round, just so it goes a little bit faster. And then you're going to want to back out of your options, and you're going to want to go and you're going to want to highlight the player 2. And then you're going to be hitting your activation key. And if you notice, it's going to be automatically moving down. It selects custom combat, moves into the player, selects some players, and automatically select that danger modifier here for us. Confirm it. We'll confirm B, he doesn't need, player 2, he doesn't need anything, and it randomly selects a stage. And it's going to sit here, and it just automatically loads the stage. Now I'm going to let this load for a second, because I want to show you something before we move on. I'm going to want you to kind of remember this scene in your head. Now when your match first loads, you're going to be seeing the this match modifiers pop up. This is basically, and it's going to have A to confirm down here at the bottom, and it's basically going to tell you you're going to need to press A in order to continue the match. This is where you're going to be hitting the button that starts the loop, which again I'll be showing you here very shortly coming up, but you're just going to want to kind of keep this in mind, because this is where you're going to be actually starting the script that you're going to be writing after you hit the initialization button. So if you give me just a second here, I'm going to go back into our notepad. Now, let's see here. I said I was going to do it in piece by piece. So we've got our initialization procedure. Now I have chosen to use button N for this. I don't know why, it's just what I wanted. Initialization N. So we're going to start this off. We're going to be selecting the combat modifier style. Now the reason why we're going to be starting, we want to keep the 2-player highlighted and not use a keyboard or joystick to press it, is because the moment you press that, it's going to seal in that joystick or keyboard as player 1. And we don't want to do that. We want the virtual joystick to be taken over as the player. So that's why we have to execute the script while that's highlighted, and that will tell that virtual joystick to start pressing its buttons. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a series of send commands. Send is basically auto hotkey, pressing the key on the keyboard virtually for you, which in turn activates that joypad. It's kind of goofy how it works, but that's how we're going to do it. So, what we're first going to be doing is we're going to be sending button 1. Remember, button 1 before was, that was player 1 A button. So it's just basically going to select the 2-player option. So we're going to do a sleep for a half a second, 500 milliseconds. We're going to send 2 twice, which will be giving us 2 downs. Remember, button number, or keyboard key number 2 is down on player 1 controller, so it's going to hit down twice to highlight the combat modifiers. And then we're going to hit 1 again, and it's going to sleep for 8 seconds. Now this 8 seconds might change depending on how fast your computer loads. Mine takes about 6 seconds. I have it set to 8 just in case it takes a little longer to get to that player select screen. So by doing that, that should get us to the select screen. Now, give me just a second, and we'll move into the next portion of our code, which will be the select players. Now, I've done it very, very simple, where it's just going to select Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and that's all we have to deal with. Now, you could select whatever player you want by adding more buttons and arrow keys in this mix, but this is just as fast as it can go. So what it's going to do is it's going to send button 1, which is your A, or your key 1, which is A button, twice. basically to select Sub-Zero, and then select his ninjutsu style. And then it's going to go to send key number 3, which is player 2 button A. It's going to send that 3 times. What that's going to do is it's going to load the virtual joystick 2. It's going to assign that to player 2, and then it's going to select Sub-Zero, and it's going to select his first style. Now, after that, we're going to go into the selecting the danger modifier routine, which is basically pretty much the last step to what we're doing. This is kind of a big routine, so we'll try and go through it the best we can. Now, what we'll start as is we're gonna have the select danger modifier. Now, the first thing we'll do is we're gonna send a button, or send key number 1, player 1A, to open up the select the modifier. We're gonna create a little variable here and assign it to 0, just because we're gonna be needing that in our loop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send key 2, which is down, and I've changed our sleep modifier to 300 to move it down a little faster. Excuse me. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding 1 to X each time it goes through this loop, and it's going to loop until X is greater than 18, which means X should be 19, which is the exact number of down presses we need to get to the danger modifier. We're going to send another player 1A button to select it. We need to send another player 1A button to let it know that it's for both players. And we're going to send 2 downs to get us to the confirm, and we're going to send a player 1 button A to confirm. And we're going to be doing the same thing with our player 2. We're going to have a send button, or key 4, which if we look above, it's going to be our button, our down button on controller 2. So we're going to press down twice, and we're going to send key number 3, which is controller 2, A button, to confirm that as well. And then we just got one last step that we need to do to finish off our routine here, which is to select a random level. Again, you can add more keys into this if you want to do any other level, but I'm just going to select random, which is the first option to choose from. We're just going to send a player 1A button and return to let us know that we are done with that key. So key N now is going to run the initialization procedure, which again is when you get to the beginning, when you've got player 2 highlighted, after you've already set the game options to 1 round, you highlight new player, and then you would press the N key, and it will go through and initialize the script. So that's step 1. Step 2 is going to be the actual loop. Now, what we're going to want to do in this loop is we're going to be telling it to get past. We're going to be hitting the A button to confirm the match start when the danger modifier message pops up. And we are going to tell our player 2 to walk towards player 1. Player 1 is going to kick him in the face, and we're going to have it restart it to do it all over again. So let me paste this in, and I'm going to be using key M. I don't know why. For Mortal Kombat, I guess it's right next to N, so I used M. Again, you can use whatever you like. We're going to start the loop here. We are going to be sending key 1, key 1, which is button A, to confirm the danger modifier. We're going to be sending button 5, and we're going to have it wait almost a second, because key 5, remember, he's going to walk to the right for a whole second. So just before that second's over, we're going to tell player 1 to hit his A button again to kick him in the face. And then we're going to wait 10 seconds because the match is over. Again, it might change a little bit on yours, but I don't think it will. So anyways, 10 seconds, you wait till the match is over, and then you press A button to get to the, do I want to restart or select another player. And again, so I've got that set for another second after you press the A button, because it does seem to take a little longer for that window to come up. Now, this if get key state B, P, this basically is going to, B is going to be our break key. So when we want this loop to end, we're going to want to hold down B at around the end of the loop. So basically, right when you see that the match has ended, start holding down the B key, and then when you get to pressing the A button, when it gets to press that A button that last time, before you restart the match, it's going to pause. So that'll basically, it puts a break in your loop. It's a way to stop it without having to Alt-Tab and get everything all goofy. And you see, then that's where the break comes in after that. So basically what happens is if we have an if function without brackets, it's going to only execute the next function in that line. And if you want to see what I've got written, this basically says if this statement is true, the escape key, which I'm using as B, is being held, and then break will end the loop before it restarts, so we can get back to our main menu. And if this doesn't happen, it's going to move on to this next line here, which is going to tell us to send A again on player 1, and we're going to be sending A on player 2, which will restart the match. And I've got it set for 5 seconds. It takes my computer 5 seconds to reload back to the danger modifier in the beginning. This might possibly could be changed on your computer if it runs a little faster. Just on mine, 5 seconds works. And then we're going to close our brackets for our loop, and we'll put a return in to finish off our key. So now key M is going to be our main loop. Now we've got one last thing to insert, which is going to be our escape key. This is actually very easy. It doesn't require any code at all. We're just going to put in some comments so we know what it's going to do. And all that really is we're going to put this $sign in front of it, and that's what's going to basically allow us to use this P right here. So basically that $sign allows, it tells AutoHotkey to kind of pay attention to that key and the status of it. So if, I don't really understand how it works, but that capital P means that the button is being pressed. I guess P means pressed. There we go. So put our $sign B and our 2 colons to tell it that it's a key that we're going to press. And right under that, we're just going to put returns just to close it out, because really we don't need it to do anything. We just need it to listen for that key if it's being pressed. And we're at the end of our file. So let's go through. Let's going to watch and see what it's going to do again. We should be able to load our game up and set it all up, and we highlight our player 2. We're going to press our N key here, and it's going to select down. We're going to select our character. This is where that 8-second timer could be reduced. It looks like I could probably take about 2-3 seconds off of it, but it seems to work. This could be possibly sped up a little more, but I mean, honestly, it only goes through this routine once, and it's done. and then it's going to randomly select the stage and start loading it. Now I'm going to load up my second little screenshot video here I took. It's just a second here, and it goes into the load. Now, here's where I'm pressing my M key. And it should start the round off. You see player 2 walk forward, kick in the face, ball is dead. 10 seconds here to let us know that we are awesome with a flawless victory. And it's going to reload it all up again. This is our 5 seconds. And we're good to go. It goes over and we just kick in the face again. That time you had a little zombie in a waterfall with him. Kind of mimic him, I guess. That was funny. Anyway, it's going to go and it's going to reset again. Now, let's test out our escape key. Now really, we can hold it down at any time we want. But we don't have to until the end. So you've got all the way up. So basically, this point right here, you can start holding it down. You hold down B right there, it'll stop, and then you can use your 2 button to get your 2 key, select down twice on controller 1, and then your number 1 key to get you back to your main menu. And then from the main menu, you can use your keyboard or your physical joystick or whatever you wish. It doesn't matter. You just got to make sure that it's highlighted here on player 2 when you hit the initialize button, because you need the virtual joypad 1 to press its A button to take over the player 1's spot. Well, I mean, that is pretty much everything that needs to be said about my video. You guys got any questions, you can post down below in the comments, and I will get back to you and see if I can answer anything for you. Other than that, enjoy and have some fun. Bye.